When recording video using a Canon M50, picture styles inside the camera control how much color saturation, contrast, and sharpness is applied to your footage. In this video, which is part 3 of a 4-part series, I'm going to show you how to customize picture styles to get more dynamic range out of the camera and make footage look better and more professional. My name is Todd Dominey, thanks for being here. All right, so in part 1, you may recall that I recommended using the built-in standard picture style for general use. The standard picture style is convenient, but that convenience comes at a cost. Because when a camera applies its own style, like standard, footage can be difficult or even impossible to color grade and edit thereafter. To borrow a food analogy, it's the equivalent of trying to change the ingredients of a dish which has already been cooked. What we need instead of standard is a picture style without style, one that doesn't add saturation, contrast, or sharpness. And also a style that compresses luminosity values towards the center of the histogram to capture more detail in dark shadows and bright highlights. Now, just so you know, this video is going to be a little more technical compared to the first 2 videos in this series, and is intended for people who use software like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut to edit their video footage. All right, in this video, I will test 3 flat picture styles: FilmKit Flat, Technicolor Cinestyle, and Prolost Flat. To test these styles, I will use 2 Canon M50s mounted side by side, each using the same exposure values and white balance. That way, comparing footage is more accurate because both cameras are capturing the exact same thing at the exact same time. Let's begin with FilmKit Flat. This is a custom picture style created by a freelance filmmaker in the Netherlands named Gerben Schmidt. He created FilmKit specifically for the Canon M50 to emulate Canon C-Log in the EOS R. All right, so let's look at some footage. On the bottom of your screen is one M50 using the standard picture style, and on top is the other M50 using FilmKit Flat. Both videos are using the same white balance, same exposure settings straight out of camera without any processing. You'll notice that the FilmKit Flat footage looks gray and washed out. That's good because, as I mentioned earlier, it means we are effectively increasing the dynamic range of the camera by squeezing luminosity values towards the center of the histogram. This protects the blacks and whites against clipping, and it also produces more detail in shadows and highlights when the histogram is then de-squeezed and stretched back out again. So let's do that now by applying the Rec. 709 utility LUT included with FilmKit Flat. And what you get is footage that, at least to my eyes, looks better than standard. The colors are more accurate, the sky is closer to true blue, and the highlights are warmer and creamier looking and less gray than they do in standard. Here is another example. Standard on the bottom, FilmKit Flat on top. Here again, the FilmKit Flat footage doesn't appear as muddy and as dark as the standard footage. Another example, this time to look at skin tones. Standard is on the left, FilmKit Flat is on the right. And here is FilmKit color graded using its Rec. 709 utility LUT. Now looking at this, I immediately noticed that my skin tones look warmer and a little more natural in the FilmKit Flat footage as opposed to the standard footage where it looks a little more like gray or green. The other thing I notice here when zooming in is the fact that the FilmKit Flat footage is a little bit softer, which is actually a good thing because I think the standard is too sharp. It looks too crunchy. It looks like it's been just overbaked a little bit, while the FilmKit footage looks more natural. And this is actually a better place to be working from because it means that I can apply my own sharpening if I want to. You can't really de-sharpen something that's already been sharpened, so this is a really good place to be starting from. Now, in addition to FilmKit Flat, the same developer sells an additional set of Rec. 709 LUTs, which includes a helpful wide DR utility LUT. As you can see here, the effect using this LUT is not quite as strong to create a better baseline for applying a second creative LUT or custom color grade thereafter. A couple of important points regarding the use of LUTs. One, if a LUT doesn't look exactly right, you can always fine-tune appearance thereafter with basic corrections to highlights, shadows, saturation, whatever needs a little extra attention. And two, you don't have to use LUTs when you grade footage. I like using them because they're fast and convenient, but if you have experienced color grading, you can take that flat footage and grade it without a LUT, however you want. Now, I am not a professional colorist, but to prove this point, here are a couple of examples to show you how much creative latitude you have. Here's the same skyline footage from earlier, but this time I edited the contrast and colors myself to give it kind of a blue-green filmic look. This footage is rather challenging because it was shot on a bright, sunny afternoon, but I think you'll agree that now this footage looks completely different than the standard picture style. Here's another custom color grade using the skate park footage again. Standard on the bottom, FilmKit Flat on top, graded using my own settings in Premiere. FilmKit Flat is not free, but it is cheap, selling for only 10 euros. If you're interested in trying it out for yourself, there's a link to FilmKit Flat in the description below, plus a special discount code for viewers of this channel. Okay, so I've talked a lot about FilmKit Flat, so let's now take a look at two additional options for flat picture styles on the Canon M50. Next, Cinestyle. Cinestyle has been around for a while. It is a free picture style originally created by Technicolor for the Canon 5D Mark II many years ago. You can install Cinestyle on any Canon camera as long as the camera supports custom picture styles like the Canon M50 does. Now, I have to say, I have tried using Cinestyle on two Canon DSLRs in addition to my M50, and my footage has never been usable. I've tried numerous third-party Cinestyle to Rec. 709 utility LUTs. I've tried color grading the footage myself, and I don't know what it is about Cinestyle, but the results for me have never been good. Skin tones always turn out splotchy and uneven, and there's a noticeable loss in clarity and detail, which is pretty much impossible to bring back in post thereafter. But nonetheless, Cinestyle is popular and it's free, so I'm curious to know if you happen to use Cinestyle, do you get good results out of it? If so, what do you recommend? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, unlike FilmKit Flat and Cinestyle, Prolost Flat is not a file you download and install on the M50, but rather a custom picture style you create by editing settings on the camera. These settings create flat footage which looks similar to FilmKit Flat and Cinestyle. Now, for me, I've had far better luck using the Prolost Flat technique on my Canon 5D Mark IV. It's actually the picture style I use when recording videos like the one you're looking at right now. Generally speaking, I get better results following the Prolost Flat technique on the M50 compared to Cinestyle, but honestly, that's not saying much. The footage still lacks clarity and detail, and it just doesn't look very good. For whatever reason, that technique on a crop sensor camera like the M50, there's just not as much latitude there. It's just not as recoverable in post as footage shot following the Prolost technique on a full-frame DSLR like the Canon 5D Mark IV. Nice thing about the Prolost technique, however, is that there's nothing to purchase. There's nothing to install, and you can tweak the settings however you want. I think ultimately what we're getting to here is that the M50 is an 8-bit crop sensor consumer camera. And if you're serious about color grading, then chances are you're not going to be using an M50. You're going to go out and purchase a more expensive camera that supports log, and you're not going to be messing around with flat picture styles. But that said, there's a lot you can do with the Canon M50, especially if you already own one of these cameras, you enjoy using it, and if you take the time to download and install a custom picture style like FilmKit Flat, shoot some footage with it, import that footage into Final Cut or Premiere, and then color grade that footage, I think you will get better results than using the standard picture style. Even if you just import that footage and apply the Rec. 709 utility LUT, which comes with FilmKit, that alone, without doing anything else in Lumici Color, will get you better looking results than footage that has been recorded using the standard picture style. But if buying something for the M50 isn't something you're interested in doing, trust me, I get it, I've been there. What I would recommend doing is just creating a custom picture style yourself, using the neutral picture style as your baseline. And then go in and tweak sharpness, tweak the saturation, tweak it however you want, shoot some test footage, and then look at the results later. Try color grading it. The goal really is just getting rid of that sharpness and that saturation and that heavy contrast that standard applies, so that then you're able to add those values yourself and not be as aggressive as standard. So if FilmKit Flat doesn't work out for you for whatever reason, that is a technique that you can use and you will likely get better results. Hope you enjoyed the video. Next time in part 4, I'm going to take a closer look at shooting 4K video using the Canon M50 and show you how to get better looking footage. If that's something of interest to you, remember to subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when that video is released. And if you enjoyed the video, if you liked the video, if you learned something from it, please remember to give it a thumbs up. It would really help me out and I would appreciate it. By the way, of course, everything I shared in this video is linked below in the description, and you will also find links to the other videos in this 4-part video series. As always, I appreciate your time and attention. I'll see you next time.